Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good
Good
How's
morning.
morning.
everyone today?
Hey.
All
Up,
right.
up early.
That's the way it should be, right?
Well, I'm in Tucson, Arizona, so it's 4:30 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
Why?
So,
Because they do not recognize daylight
Daylight
savings
savings
time.
time. I'm out here, but my dad's 86th birthday is the 11th.
oh, that's
Awesome.
wonderful.
Aw.
So with
And
my
also, that's the
lovely
only
wife.
time you want to play golf out there anyway. It's 5 a.m. to about 11.
Well,
So
it's
there's a
not quite that,
positive.
but there she is. Good morning, baby.
Good morning. Morning.
Good morning, everybody.
We actually played. I actually played golf yesterday with a high school buddy I hadn't seen in 42 years.
Wow. Isn't that a baseball outfit you're wearing?
That's a Cubs jersey. Yeah. Well, I woke up with
And
I sleep in a tank top, so I thought this would be more appropriate for sunrisers than see me in a tank top.
and what time was your tea time?
We played at 8 o'clock. It was only 90 yesterday. It was nice. It was
Oh,
beautiful. Actually, it was like 62 when I got to the course at about 6:45. It was nice.
I was,
Hey,
I'm
Brian,
trying.
who flew B-52s in World War II?
I don't think we had to be 52 in World War II, brother.
Well, the Air Force ultimately flew B-50 or
Right, but we
I'm
didn't have
sorry,
them.
the
We didn't have them
bombers.
be. Yeah, we didn't have those in World War II, bro. They came after.
Okay, so which bomber was in World War II that did the Doolittle raid?
That was the B-19, B-17 or
B-9.
B-19. One of
Sure.
those.
All right, never mind. I'm not going to go into
Yeah,
it.
the ones that prop. Well, the
Yeah, that little
B-52 is a
small
jet.
detail.
The B-52 is a jet. The Doolittle raid these props. Remember?
What about the B-2?
I don't know. What about it? The B-2
Okay.
bombers in stealth, though.
All right, never mind.
Units going
Different
through.
Come
era.
on, don't get us all excited for that. And
I
then,
know. I'm
Well,
just thinking of the
oh,
'90s song that I danced to in college. When I
The
hear
that's
that,
the
B-52s.
B-52s. So,
The
in
Love
short,
Shack.
my
The
reserve
Love
unit
Shack.
that's right.
salvaged. You remember the Doolittle raid in World
Yep.
War II?
Yep.
All right. So, in short, my reserve unit back in the 80s salvaged a bomber out of Lake Murray in South Carolina that went in a training exercise. And our reserve unit pulled it up, and we're going to a divers reunion. And a lot of those guys I haven't seen in 35 years that
Nice.
will be at that divers reunion at the museum at Lake Murray.
Awesome. Can I just look it up? You got it transversed. It was the B-25.
There we go. We were
You
both
were close.
way off.
You were close. You were close.
The whole joke was the Navy had to salvage an Air Force jet.
interest. That's really interesting. I'm sorry. Was trying to share. I can't even share my own screen on my own computer. How messed up is that? I wanted to show a picture that Tom sent to me this morning. And it's a basically a but Tom Latimer, there's a picture of him on a cruise ship.
Mm.
And I just wanted everybody to feel as jealous as I do right now.
Ah.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's no cruise ship I want to be on.
Oh,
Good morning.
so
I second and third that.
so
For your what is?
okay. I muted them, y'all. Sorry about that. There we go. So how's everybody today? Good?
Good.
So when are you doing this, Ken?
This Wednesday, Thursday, we're doing it. It's a 3 day event. The museum is putting it on for the Navy since it's been sitting in that museum. Probably not a lot closer to you than it is to us. Um, and
In Columbia, South Carolina.
so in Columbia, South Carolina, where Lake Murray is.
I know where that is. It's not far from me at all.
Right, right. So feel free to go if you want. It's
Well,
pretty cool.
is Ginger going with you?
No,
Oh,
it appears that most spouses aren't going, but it doesn't mean they can't go.
oh, okay. Well, I was gonna see if I could hang out with her for a little while, but
I'm
Cha-
going to a women's conference at our church.
oh, gotcha, gotcha. Awesome. Well, folks, you are at Sunrisers this morning. I'm so glad to have you. And thank you. I've gotten some comments about my haircut. Thanks. I appreciate that. Um, uh, let's see. Brian, I guess you're doing the devotional then, right?
I'm the guy.
All right.
Central time or mountain time. I'm the
That
guy.
we'll let her rip.
Well, good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing?
I think
If I sound like I
everybody's
just,
good. Can
if I
can
sound like
everybody mute themselves so I don't have to do that? That would really help me in a big way.
if
Because I
if I
forgot.
don't,
It's whoever the phone number 9704
I
last four
gotcha.
is.
I
there we
fixed
go.
it.
Someone got him. Well, if I sound like I just got up, it's because I just did. Anyway, good morning. So I came out to Arizona to for my dad's 86. We surprised him. He was surprised when I walked in the door, and he was like, he looked, he got a little teary eyed. Amy, you'd have loved it. He got a little teary eyed, and so we're gonna hang out today. But I got to thinking this last week. I had something else in mind to bring this morning, but then I got to thinking. We had a couple situations, couple discussions with my brother, and um, I got to thinking about this passage of scripture, James 1:19 and 20. It says, "Wherefore, my brother, beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God." And I started thinking about those verses, and it's funny how God will put something on your mind that maybe He's challenging you to do yourself. So a lot of times when we're studying the Bible or we're looking at something, God has a way of reframing that and going, this is something you need to be doing. And so this morning, I don't necessarily bring this, but hopefully it'll bless someone in the group. But really, I think God gave this to me this morning as a reminder that you might win the battle, but you don't want to lose the war, right? And this verse, we talk about quick to listen. It refers to having a teachable attitude, right? Particularly toward the Word of God. It suggests taking the time to fully understand a situation or perspective for jumping to a conclusion, fostering humility over pride. And think about that before jumping to a conclusion. We live in a world today that people jump to conclusions on just the littlest thing. We hang on the littlest social media post. We get all wrapped around the axle so fast. And the other thing, true listening, if you think about it, right, in today's culture, most people are just sitting there. Are we actually listening? And I'm speaking to myself here too. Are we actually listening? Or are we simply just preparing to return fire? Right? Am I still on?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I saw you bow your head, Wendy, and you weren't moving. So I thought, oh my gosh, is everyone frozen? Sorry. Anyway, just move around every now and then so I know I'm still connected.
I'm sharing stuff on Facebook real quick. I'm
Oh,
sharing
no problem.
the
No
link. Sorry.
worries. No, you're fine. You're fine. I just you were so still. I thought you were frozen. Anyway, where was I? Quick to listen. So true listening, right, requires focus, intentionality, right? Today we have these things called cell phones, and sometimes we'll be having a conversation with someone, and we'll have our phone. And I know I'm probably one of the worst offenders. And I'm working. I'm working. I'm a phone addict in training or in conversion, I guess, in therapy. But put that phone down. Flip that phone over. Do something so we could be more intentional about listening. But quick to listen means actively listening, right? Zeroing in, giving people feedback, truly letting that person understand that, hey, I hear you. Give them something back. Give them some Tell me more about that. Give them some feedback, give them some. But I say all this to start because one of my biggest challenges, and someone can probably relate to this, is our family members. As I found out yesterday with my buddy, family can be really hard, and he's got a brother that's pretty much the black sheep, not talking to his mom and dad. Just a bad situation. And my family, my brother's a tough nut, right? He's a tough nut. It's hard to have a discussion with him. I mean, I'm literally, pray for me this week because, he's a very argumentative, very type person. So this verse, God brought this verse to my mind. Brian, you're going to really have to, you really shut your mouth this week. Slow to speak, quick to listen, 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? I'll be swallowing a lot of words in the next 4 or 5 days, but I think there's some wisdom here as well. And then being slow to speak, right? Control our tongue. Don't be impulsive, emotional. Don't be harsh, right? It's the natural result of being it is the natural result of being quick to listen, thinking before we speak, right? How many times have we, sent a text or an email or just immediately launched into a volley of response, not thinking what you're saying, and then going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that." Having to, once you hit send, it's over, right? That thing is launched, and it we ourselves in so much trouble. Well, I'm going to see here. Where else want to go with this? And a lot of times, like even like in our world, right, in the real estate world, what is everyone tells you when you walk into when you're talking with someone we're trying to help. What do we have to do? We have to listen. How can you understand the problem if you don't listen? How can you be a help to someone? How can you be a help to your spouse? How can you be a help to a friend if you don't genuinely listen? And I think it's a lost art in today because we've gotten so focused on everyone's so focused on their phones, on these apps, that the art of communication like we're doing right now has been lost, right? We've lost our way. We have a culture, a generation of young people that they just want to sit behind a screen or behind a phone. They don't want to talk to anybody. We were working on a situation this past week, and no one will answer their phone. No one will call you. You'll get emails, right? They want to do everything over email. And we were kind of, Tom Olson had a post out there this week, and he was, what's the right response time? I always told people, hey, email doesn't constitute emergencies. Text me, call me. But being slow to speak, and then that James verse 1, chapter 20 says, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Anger causes a lot of problems, right? Anger is the result of a lot of different things, but ultimately, it's someone there's something spiritually inside that's broken, right? Someone is seriously broken if they're always angry. And I need to pray for my brother because my brother's broken. He's lost, but he's so angry. And this is something that when I see that, and I'll be honest, there's times where I get angry at times, right? I think we all do. And Jesus got angry, but he sinned not. There's a great example, right? Flipping over tables and never sinned. Righteous indignation, right? But slow to not. This verse insists, slow to become angry. Don't allow yourself, or we shouldn't allow ourselves to explode, right? Take a step back. It implies gathering all the facts first. Anger is often a choice rather than an unconditional emotion. It's triggered by selfish pride when facing trials. So the old adage, right? When the trial comes or the challenge comes, true character is revealed, right? It's not, if you don't make it there, you're gonna be found out there, right? Everyone on this call has different trials, different situations, things are going through. we won't get into details on that, but we're all going through stuff, but it's how we respond during those times. And when I read this verse, when I study this verse out, it's kind of sobering, right? Because our anger, think about it, anger rarely produces the kind of right living God desires, right? When we return fire, we may win the argument, but we're going to lose an opportunity to reflect Christ. We're going to lose a friend, right? When we choose to listen first, we create space for understanding. We create empathy. And we needed, truth spoken in love. Think about someone that needs to hear the gospel, right? What do they always do? You build a bridge. How do you build a bridge? One brick, one step at a time. And sometimes that may mean we have to listen a lot, speak less. It doesn't mean we don't speak truth, right? I think one of the big things in the Christian faith is, it's not the truth that has the problem. It's the deliverer and how we delivered it, right? We didn't build a bridge. We didn't build a relationship. There's no rapport. And our mindset is such a huge, huge thing in that. In fact, this is kind of a sidebar, but after golf yesterday, we were sitting there having lunch outside. It was beautiful. Anita loved it. And this young lady was waiting on us, and she came up, and my friend knew her. Obviously, she worked at the country club where he's a member at. And she walked up and she said, "Oh, today's my last day." And he's like, "Oh, well, great. What are you doing?" I'm going up to Queen Creek in Phoenix, and I'm going to try to open a coffee shop. And I stopped her. I didn't even know her. I stopped her. I said, "Stop." I said, "Don't try. You're going to go open a coffee shop. You're going to do." And she was so thankful. She was like, "Yes, I'm going to do that." But we sat there and listened to her, and you could see her just kind of beaming, but you could sense the kind of doubts. And so we both kind of encouraged her, and she left. She was like, "I'm so glad I came over here to say you guys are so encouraging." And but you have to listen. You have to hear and meet people where they're at. I think about we should all think about that last difficult conversation we had. Were we listening to understand? It's kind of funny because I remember there was an instance where we were in a meeting, and there was a COO we had at our old company, and he was a master of interruption. Like, this guy would ask you a question, you'd start to answer it, and he'd interrupt you in 30 seconds and ask you like two more questions. So my old senior VP said, "We're going to go in this meeting and we're not going to say a word for 10 minutes. I'm going to tell him he's got the floor." And we sat there and listened, and we listened, and we listened, and we got done. And he said, "Are you finished?" He's like, "Nope." And he kept going. He said, "Okay, I'm done." He's, "Okay, now it's my turn." And literally, as my boss started to speak, after a minute, he interrupted him. And I was just shaking my head. And I'm just thinking to myself, if we would just take the time and study this verse and do what it says, let's be quick to listen, right? Let's be quick to listen. Let's think first. Let's pause before responding. Let's pause before we start. My wife taught me this years ago. If you're frustrated, she'll type out a message, and then she won't. Wendy, you're cracking me up. You distracted me. You can type out a message and then just put it in your drafts. Don't send it, right? Don't send that. Don't send that email. Don't launch that bomb. Don't send that text. Pause. And I'm very much working on my being more responder versus reactor, because I'm the one that wants to immediately, and I have to step back. And I go, "Nope, we gotta pause. I gotta think this through. I gotta pray about this." And we have to ask ourselves, am I trying to understand, or am I just preparing a rebuttal, right? Am I just returning fire? And, again, ask those questions. If you're trying to get to the meaning of something or trying to understand somebody better, right? Ask, "What do you mean by that? Can you help me see this from your perspective?" Right? It at least shows that we're trying to see it, because at the end of the day, right? ultimately, every conversation, every person we're interacting with is an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to either show them that, hey, we've got something you need, or if they're a fellow believer, we want to be an encouragement, right? And Wendy, you just said, a great point. I was going next. We don't have to be right. We should be seekers of truth. We should be looking for what is correct or what is the right thing versus being right or wanting to be right. Pray in a moment. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you stay calm and calm and respond, or just stay silent. There's an old adage, and it says, you can sit there and listen and be silent and be assumed intelligent, or you can speak and remove all doubt. Right? And I don't know about you, but I have put my foot in it more times than I can count. And my wife is on here, and she's probably giving a big old amen right now and say, brother, God, get a hold of him. But this is something that, I'm going to get to put into practice here in probably another day or two. So my biggest opportunity is my brother. And like we talked, sometimes I know we want to see our family members come to the Lord if you have unsaved family members, but you may not be the ones that that God uses. I mean, sometimes you can be too close to a situation, and they know where all the bodies are buried in your life, right? They know you. They look at you, and they don't see you as the person you've become. They see you as the person that you were. They think, oh, you're still the guy I shared a room with back in high school. But see, I'm not that guy anymore, because on June 2nd, 1996, I repented of my sins and accepted Christ as my Savior, and I became, as 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, a new creature. So this morning, again, if you're on here for the first time, I'm not Tom Lattimore, but we both have the best haircut on this call. But I just ask that think before we speak. Focus on being intentional about our listening, and rather than preparing to return fire, let's just pause. Let's just pause and think, because you don't know how your words are going to impact the person or persons you're talking to on the other side, or you're about to text on the other side, or you're about to post on social media, or the email you're going to send that's going to send ripples through the air. And it's funny because and I'm guilty of this. Does anybody ever win a Facebook debate? Do they really? Does anybody win? Like, I don't. But yet here we are. We got to go at it, right? It's just on our nature. But I don't think anyone ever wins. There's in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he says, a man convinced against his will is of that same opinion still, right? So to be an influence, we have to have rapport. We have to be able to build that bridge. So I'll stop it there, and let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come this morning. We thank you for Wendy and this platform and all these people that have joined. And we just continue to pray, Lord, that you just continue to use this meeting, this God ordained point in time, because we know, Lord, that there may be somebody on here that's lost, that's never accepted Christ, and we want to show them that we're here for them, and that they too can have a relationship with Jesus, and that's really the most important thing about this call. Lord, we thank you for allowing me to serve here in Tom's absence. We pray for him and his wife on their cruise. Lord, I just pray you keep them safe, help them get refreshed, and again, Lord, give us a great day and bless the speaker this morning, and just continue to work in and through Wendy and all that she does. We ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I said in the chat, you're calling me out. The speak, I go, this takes me back to when, right before my husband and I got married, we did the counseling thing. Um, And I still go back when we're having our chats with each other. I still go back and listen to, topics that we brought up during that time. The one thing that I remember so intensely is how many times is your spouse or whoever it is you're talking to saying something to you and you're not really listening, you're thinking of your answer.
You're preparing to return fire.
Mm-hmm.
And you know
Instead of
what?
hearing them.
And we cannot do two things at once. That is a proven fact. I know everyone thinks they can multitask, but we're all liars because
Mm-hmm.
you can't speak and listen at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about that all the time. And, in every relationship, you should be thinking about that in every conversation. Listen to what they're telling you. And the other thing too, I think in the because of time, the shortage of time, I can't tell you how many times people will start telling me their stories about what's going on in their real estate world. They're really, they're taking forever to get to their question. And I will say, I'll stop them and say, look, let's get right to the point. And that's just rude. And if I've done that to you, I'm sorry. To anybody I've done it to, I'm sorry. Um, it's and somebody put on here too, I think it was Val said, in our current social situation in the US, we don't listen to other people talking. We're always thinking about what our response is. Are we, we want to be right, and that's not what this is all about, right?
No. Well, the other thing too is like we have lost our way in the fact that no one is allowed. We've forgotten how to respectfully disagree when we
Mm,
don't when we don't have middle ground on a topic. And I was asking Amy this the other day. You know, there's a great podcast. You should socialize that podcast on here, baby. Where a guy's talking. There's two couples, and the guy's talking about marriage and how couples get along, and just rules. And you should have, if you're married. I'm not a marriage counselor, so guys, just bear with me. But you should have like you should talk about how are we going to fight, right? How are we going to disagree, right? Because when you have a spouse, when you're married, you're going to have disagreements, right? I know it's hard to believe if you're newlyweds, but you will have disagreements. That person, that halo is going to get tarnished, but you have to have rules about fighting, like like don't go to bed angry, don't get personal, don't get, take a step back, give people. My biggest challenge when we first married is I was a fixer. I wanted it all resolved now. So Amy and I would get in an argument. I won't I won't get too much into that, but she would want to get away because she needs to cool down and she wants, but guess what? I was like that. No, we're going to settle this right now. And that did more harm.
mm-hmm.
And I had to learn that, right? I had to let her, okay, she's not happy. I need to let her go reset for 10, 15. Oh, she posted that podcast. You guys need to download, you guys to listen to that podcast. It's awesome. Especially if you're married, you need to listen to that podcast. It's got some great insight. But you have to let people, you have to, it's all part of that process. And he talks about learning how to fight. We have to learn how to fight because you're going to have disagreements, right? But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And you never want to attack somebody and make it personal or vindictive, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. This was great. One other thing I wanted to mention about the waiting on sending out emails. I've gotten really good at that. Um, somebody will send me an email and I'll write a response and I'll stop. And sometimes I'll have to rewrite that thing 4 or 5 times before I get back down to what should be my response, not an emotional response. Many times I'll go to bed and redo it the next morning. It makes a big difference when you think about before you send something like that.
Yeah, I
Thank
agree.
you so much. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
All right, Brian, the other Brian. Brian Maddox, are you ready, my friend?
I am ready. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Rates kind of got a little bit better the past couple of days.
It's another roller coaster of a week. This one we like. It's the nice drop down. You get that little fun feeling in your stomach. Yeah. Yeah.
Woohoo!
By the way, hair is awesome. My wife is like, she's got long hair and she's been considering going pretty short like you, and I've been encouraging it. So good job and enjoy the summer with that less hair.
Thanks. Thanks.
All right, let's show some charts. So we're going to talk about oil first because look at this chart. So we were not doing so good last week and the week before, and then Tuesday oil was at 102, Wednesday morning 77. We gotta like that. When we look at the mortgage rates on this chart, we're looking at the UMBS, which is the actual bond that trades on Wall Street for conventional loans. And up means better rates. So we had just not good news for 2 weeks straight. It got worse and worse and worse. And we finally kind of bounced back up. We got below this Fibonacci level. We only closed under there for 1 day. And then we had this nice pop up. And what really happened was, actually there was exchanging of fire between Iran and the US. But Trump tried to downplay it and said, this was a love tap. This was not breaking the ceasefire. They're trying to hold on to this ceasefire. And apparently talks are going well. There was a document that was received by Iran through Pakistan. And, the U.S. and Trump is very optimistic that this could lead to peace. The oil market certainly liked that. We saw rates really improve. Really, it was the fifth. Not so good. It was actually kind of the worst since we had started this conflict almost. And then Wednesday, the 6th, we saw things really improve. Now we're kind of above this Fibonacci level, which is a good thing, but we've hit this resistance. All these little squiggly lines, these are the daily moving averages, and they are going to hold down rates from getting much better. We've got to get a lot of momentum to kind of break through these. When we look at the stochastics, we did have a crossover. This is kind of showing the momentum and trend, and this is showing that we're in an improving trend line. So we want to see this continue. We need to start taking down these layers of resistance, and it's every single one of them. It's the 25, 50 days, 100-day, and 200-day moving average. They're all kind of in this really tight pack. So if we can get above them, they will again act as a layer of support to try to keep rates improved. When we look at the U.S. 10-year Treasury, on this chart, down means cheaper interest rates. So again, we saw 2 weeks of rates increasing, and then we had an about face and a turn down. But we had this really wide gap, these two Fibonacci levels, and we just were bouncing all up and inside of it. We would really love to cross under. This is a Fibonacci level, this white line that's horizontal, and then we've got the 25-day moving average. So we want to try to break through those. And then again, we've got some more resistance before we start to see things really getting back to, February numbers. We saw the 10-year Treasury down at the 395 level. It would be great to see us get closer to a 4 on the 10-year Treasury. Mortgage rates, if you remember last week, we were at like 6.68 or 6.67, somewhere right in that range. And so we've seen rates kind of come back almost 0.25% in the last week. And again, this is all based on that good news in Iran, or the hopes that the ceasefire is going to be lasting and we can find a way to get the strait opened. If you look at FHA rates, they're just under 6%. We've actually been able to see some just sporadic times where hey, you got to jump on that rate because it looks really pretty. If you look at the charts again, these are very large candlesticks. So they're pretty big movements. So kind of a lot of volatility. I woke up yesterday morning and I was like, oh man, we're going to have 2 really good days in a row. And then it kind of pulled back, and we closed higher than we had started off in the morning. So again, these technicals can kind of put a lot of pressure on the rates. So we're just going to hold on tight and just keep watching oil. Your oil news is going to equal your interest rate news probably. Delinquencies. So we are seeing an uptick. This is fourth quarter 2025 numbers for past dues. So 30 to 60 days past dues. This is kind of your early warning sign of what is coming. And you can see that the size of this blue chart, especially versus 2021 where we had really low delinquencies, a lot of people were able to go into forbearance. We still have some forbearance out there, but we are seeing an uptick in the 30 to 60 day late payments on mortgages. Foreclosures, this is really, you see these tiny, I don't know if you can even see it, but we did see a little decent uptick in foreclosures from third quarter to fourth quarter. And then I found this map of delinquencies by state. So these are going to have mortgages that are 30 to 89 days past due, 90 to 100 days past due in foreclosure or in forbearance. So when you look state by state, you can kind of see there are a couple states that have higher than average delinquency rates. Some states are kind of right there in the middle and the average. There could be an uptick, especially if we do see inflation continue to go up. What that does is that really saps people's money. You got to think gas and groceries. You can't go without a lot of times gas and groceries. Well, if you feed yourself and if you get to work to make money, you may run out of money to pay the mortgage payment. So we do want to watch delinquencies and see how these interest rates and the inflation, more importantly, could affect homeowners. And there could be, some opportunities for some people to go out there and make some deals, help people out, get them out of a bad situation. So if I can see an updated chart, we'll probably get first quarter numbers here not too long from now. And so once we get the first quarter, we'll try to find this same map so we can see what the changes are. Housing pipeline starts are split. So single family starts were up 10% month over month. So we're at a 1.5 million annual pace of starts, but permits fell. So you need to permit before you can start building the house. So we had this big increase in housing, but we have this big decrease in permits. So this could show that in the future, we're going to see some less demand or supply in the new construction arena. Insurance premiums. This is something that is starting to get some headlines. The cost of home ownership has drastically increased. And there was a percentage that said from 2021 to now, the average mortgage or homeowners insurance rates are up 61 or 64%. I don't remember the exact stat. And I could not find a better image that I could make big. It's really clear, it's small, but you probably can't read that. So you're going to have to maybe use your imagination to try to make these numbers a little bit less fuzzy. But this is showing you the average insurance per state. Green is the highest. The light blue is the lowest. So I'll let you soak that in for just a minute, but home insurance is definitely a thing that is affecting affordability for homeowners, and then it is affecting numbers for investors. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is there is more and more news about alternate credit scores that are available. In the mortgage industry, we use the FICO 2, 4, and 5 scores as our main 3 credit scores, and we use your middle score. We don't average them. We don't take a median. We ignore the top and the bottom score, and we use the middle score when we're pricing things out. Well, Vantage Score is something that has been hot on the FHFA, trying to make home ownership a little cheaper. And the credit bureaus really have this nasty monopoly, and credit score prices have just gone super bonkers. My clients on average are paying $132 to pull credit. If you go to a retail mortgage lender like a Movement or a Guaranteed Rate, they're oftentimes in that $300 to $350 range for credit scores. What lenders have done is they've negotiated better rates with the credit bureaus or the credit score providers. They're actually not directly from the credit bureau, but we have to use a third-party credit score provider. And they've negotiated so that they're only paying for people who close. So a lot of times those banks, they're not going to charge you up front to pull your credit, but they're going to get reimbursed at closing, and you're paying for the other people who never closed with them. So part of the reason that my credit scores can be a little bit cheaper and a lot of brokers is we can pay up front. So I'm not eating the cost of people who did not ever close with us. But But the FHFA is targeting this and saying, we've got to have some options so that we have not a monopoly. And so the VantageScore score is gaining a lot of traction. I have a lender that will give us the VantageScore score. They will only do loans using the VantageScore score if you're at 80% loan to value or lower. So they won't use it at the high loan to values. And I haven't seen a lot of data yet, but when I use the VantageScore to price out the loan, I have to take 20 points off. So if you're at a 740 on the VantageScore, I have to price it as if it was a 720 FICO score. That tells me that they're seeing Vantage scores inflated over the FICO scores. And I think that once we start to see more data come back with performance and are people having delinquencies, they've been kind of running this in the background and showing, what the outcome is had someone used the VantageScore score. So they're trying to do some case studies where they look at Vantage scores versus the FICO scores to see which one is more accurate in predicting delinquencies. And then there's another score that's coming out. It's called the FICO 10T. And I do not have the option to run the 10T yet. But we and this has been, the Credit Score Completion or Competition Act in 2018. It has taken a long time for us to be where we are today. And the main difference between these scores is they include the ability to have rent and utilities in your payment history. So the one of the main designs is competition should lower cost because now we don't have a monopoly on what scores can be used. And the other benefit is people who were unscorable in the traditional old models may be able to have a score easier, which could give them access to credit. So it was trying to have the credit scoring system not be a barrier of entry if they have another way that they can calculate and ascertain your past, because that's what credit score is doing, is it's using your past to predict the future. And if you're not playing the game that FICO has laid out, then I don't have a score. But now if we can include additional options with the rent and the utilities, it could open up access to credit for more people.
Brian,
so there's a quick update for you.
Who came up with the Advantage credit score? Who came up with that system?
That is a great question, and it's on the spot, Wendy. Man, I wish I had researched that before you asked it. I can't tell you who the creator was, but I am sure it had to do with money, right? They found an opportunity to find a way to make some money and try to have a competing challenge. The Vantage 3 score, if you go look at Credit Karma, it uses a Vantage 3 score, which is a consumer score. We don't use it in the mortgage world. And I don't know how the Vantage 3 score was created, but I know that the FICO system is very old. I mean, it's 50 years old, at least at this point. And so they are trying to find some ways to re-ascertain, again, being able to predict the future based on your past. So I'll look into that and I'll report back next week.
Okay, so you got some other questions too. This credit score thing is really interesting. We're talking about financing today. So this is a great little segue into what we're going to be talking about. Let's see. It says it says Vantage Score was created in 2006. Oh, we got Vicky. Vicky, unmute. Do you mind unmuting, Vicky?
I'm unmuted.
Okay, speak what you just said.
I just did the research for Brian as he was looking at it, but it said that the Vantage Score was created in 2006 as a joint venture between the agencies, and it was developed to provide a more consistent, competitive, and modern credit scoring model across all three of the bureaus, act as an alternative to the traditional FICO score. Whose brain thought to render that? I'm not sure, but that's what I just did in the research for him.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for doing that. So, Brian, how do landlords, do you know this question, report lates to impact the FICO 10? Do you know the answer to that?
No, I don't know the exact answer to that, but I have seen several different systems out there that landlords can use that can help report positive rent histories. And I believe it's a landlord charge. I think the landlord signs up through a payment system, and then that payment system can help track. So it's not a requirement for landlords to do this, obviously, but I have seen in the past that there was one or two different services that could help you help your renter establish that credit history with the rental income by using a third-party service to report. And I don't know if they have to manage the payments for you. I've not looked into them. I don't use any of those myself. My wife and I do short and mid-term rentals mostly. We don't do long-term. So I haven't looked into it personally, but there are a couple different services that you can get that help you facilitate. And the hope is that it's for, I'm trying to give you access to credit. I'm trying to help you establish credit if we're kind of being shepherds of our tenants. And then there are some services. TransUnion has had this for a little while. I think it was TransUnion. They have the Credit Boost, where it can try to link your bank account to see your utilities, and then it can have a utility reported, and that can get reported into your FICO 5, 4, and 2 scores, but they're not super meaningful in the FICO 5, 4, and 2 scores. But I don't know the exact service, but I definitely have seen a couple different third-party services that can help facilitate reporting of rent to the credit bureaus.
And I love this conversation about credit. There was a Facebook post, and I don't remember who posted it, but somebody to do with Dealmaker, I'm sure. Does a credit score mean that much to you as a lender, a private money lender? As a hard money lender, I do care about a credit score. I know for the longest time, people thought, that you got hard money if you had bad credit. And that used to be true like years ago. Hard money was really good for people that had challenged credit. I should say the word bad. But I care about that because when I underwrite something, I underwrite it based on your ability to get out of my loan. I want you to be able to get out of my loan. Even if you're going to sell it, I want you to be able to get out of it. So, okay, what is this you're showing?
So I just searched how to report rent to credit, and I
Okay.
found 4 or 5 companies that offer the ability to help you report rent to the credit bureaus. So I just wanted to bring this up if you wanted to take that. And they all do have, well, a couple of them have a cost. So I'll just leave that up on the screen while we keep talking about credit scores if you want to take a couple notes.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds great. Thank you.
I get people asking me all the time, Wendy. They say, "Hey, isn't this an asset-based loan? I'm doing DSCR. I know the property value, I know my income, and I know the payment. So why do you need my credit score?" And then there is still risk, right? And credit scores, they really are. They're using the past to predict the future. And if you're someone that lets payments go late, mortgage lenders, they have a cost to foreclose. If you're not making your payment, they have to foreclose. It doesn't matter if it's a DSCR loan. And it doesn't matter how much credit card debt you're carrying or student loans or medical collections. Now, those things can affect your credit score, but we're not looking at the debt to income. But we are looking at, are you a person? It's a character, really. Are you a person who pays your bills, or are you a person who does not pay your bills? And that's part of the character. One of the 5 C's in lending, right, is character, and credit score does make up part of that character. Now, I always tell people that bad things can happen to really good people, right? And credit scores can be a blip on the radar. I like to explain credit like a wound on your arm. During the first year of negative activity, it's like your arm is bleeding. It's open wound, max pain to your credit score. After 12 months, that open wound now has a scab. It's easy to pick off. It's easy to hurt again. You don't want to bump into it. It's not as painful as that open wound, but it still has a major impact. And then year 3, once you're 2 years past this credit blip, that scab forms into a scar, and every year after that, it does fade. So in the FICO models, once you get to that 2-year mark, your credit score is going to see a natural jump up just because those bad things that had happened to credit, they've kind of started to wear off. I've not seen any data, and I've not been able to really research much on the Vantage 4 or the 10T to see if that 2-year mark has that same weighting on credit scores.
Interesting. Now, there's a question in here that's what's my credit score for lending? So, and I kind of need your feedback on this too, Brian, with what you're saying. I'm going to go ahead and change our view to gallery so we can get the gang talking too. So for me, my minimum credit score is 660. And I choose 660 because that's about where you start having trouble getting refinanced into a DSCR loan. Am I still on point with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of lenders that have a 660 or a 680 minimum credit score. I have a lender that will go down to 500, but they're only going to lend you 50% loan to value, and you're going to pay 13% on that loan, right?
Right.
So just because we have an option doesn't mean you want it. But yeah, once you get to that 660 or 680 mark, now a lot of lenders are available. And we have some lenders that can go down to 620 or 640, but they may cap us at 65 or 70% loan to value.
Good. That's good. I'd love this to Cheyenne. Do you mind unmuting, Cheyenne?
Sure. Hi
Are
there.
you really from Nebraska?
Not from, but currently live there. Yes.
Wow. So it's early for you, huh?
Oh, it's worth it. Great.
That's a girl. Good job. Good job. So repeat what you just put in the text for our people on Facebook too.
Well, I'd love to hear what other people do, but so I have owner finance notes. And so, I had someone, one of my first notes said, "Hey, I'd like to, have something to show that I'm paying on time." And so just created a document, and I use a third-party servicer to manage, but we just create a document that shows their payment history for the year and then their timeliness. And then I, sign it and then give it to them. So whether they want to use it for taxes or whatnot, but then they just have that so that it's some sort of a history. So I'd love to hear what other people do or what even a better thing would be to do, but that's what we've done so far.
Do you know if anybody that you're giving that to, are they able to do that through maybe a self-reporting agency or anything? Do you know that they've used it that way?
It's a good question. I'm not sure if they have. I know one of them said her CPA wanted it, but I've just provided that to all of them just so they have that, even if it makes them feel happy that they've done it, so I'd love to hear what other people do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. I mean, people are always ready to report the bad stuff, but they don't throw out the good stuff there too. I remember we were at a deal maker session a couple years ago, and one girl stood up and, talked a little bit about a deal that she was doing and that Mary Hart was her lender. And then Mary Hart stood up and said, yes, and this girl pays on time. Her name's Allie Crook, in case anybody wants to know. Sometimes she's on here. But this girl pays on time, um, constantly gives me updates on her rehab. I love working with her. And then after that comment was over, she had a line of people waiting to lend her money. So, so that third party endorsement makes a big, big difference. And then Jeremy says some folks have a great ability to pay, great people. However, they do not know how to clean up their credit report. They can if we teach them how to do so. They just need to ask for a free report and then they can see it and see what needs to be removed. So that's John Maury. So, John, can you unmute for a second?
You got it.
So, if somebody wants to reach out to the credit bureau and get things removed, do you know what it is that they have to do that?
Yeah, so there's actually instructions on the sites where they ask for that, like that. Stephen just posted that annual credit report. Go onto that site, and I teach them that. I say, go there, pull it out, and then there's instructions on there on how to dispute all the negative that is really just not needed anymore. A lot of it that I've seen is they say hospital bills that's already paid off. Those don't get automatically dropped. So all they have to do is say, by the way, this paid off and it needs to be dropped. And it might take a week or two, but then it gets dropped. So they just have to go through it and remove the negativity. And you'll be surprised how that credit score just jumps just because of that.
Well, the other thing, and I'm glad you said that, thank you. So, the other thing that's really important, if you're doing that, trying to get things taken off or things cleared up, when you send that to the credit reporting agency, any kind of paperwork that you can send that would clear it up, send it certified mail.
Good idea.
Because once it hits their desk and they have signed off on it, I think it's 30 days they have. Am I right, Brian? Do you recall that?
I
30
think
days
it
they
is
have to
30
be able to
days if you submit
respond?
it that way. If you submit it through uh like Credit Karma, if you use like one of those automated online assistant tools, I think they have 60 days. I
Okay,
think
see, it
I've
might be
heard. I don't
60.
do credit repair specifically, but yeah, I do think they have 30 days to respond. I've also heard that you're going to have more luck getting an older paid collection removed because the company is less likely to want to fight or challenge that dispute. If it's an outstanding balance, they want to fight it because they want to get that money back. They've paid to buy your debt. They usually are paying on a low percentage of what is owed on those medical collections or non-medical collections. Um, and sometimes you can negotiate. On a medical collection, if you get it paid and negotiated, it is erased from your credit now. It does not hit your FICO 5, 4, and 2 scores. It automatically falls off and deletes. Non-medical collections do not automatically delete themselves from your credit. They can still report for up to 7 years against your credit.
That's good stuff. If there's anybody on here that does credit repair and you're not responding, shame on you.
I don't do credit repair, but I do help my clients, and I have a couple tips here to what has been said. So Brian said that you can get them to negotiate offer and compromise, and when you get that, you actually need to make sure you get a letter from them so that you can have a backup trail to that paperwork. And then to John Morey's take on annualcreditreport.com, what I do is I have my clients. I specifically like Experian, and Experian has a really nice portal. And if you go in there, you create an account in Experian, you can go through it. You can do it for free. You don't have to, you don't have to pay the premium product. But you go in there and you start looking at your entire report, clean up your name, clean up your addresses, clean up all the credit stuff that's on there. And what I recommend is on annualcreditreport.com, you can pull each bureau once a year, I believe it is. And so I have my customers pull a credit report. I'll have them start with Experian, then go out to and work on any stuff that needs to be cleaned up, have that be submitted to Experian, and then 2 months later or 3 months later, go pull I like TransUnion to be pulled last because TransUnion typically pulls in almost everything. But Experian and then pull Equifax and then clean up anything that's at Equifax. And then in the end of the year, go pull the TransUnion one. Once you pull TransUnion, you should see all the changes that you've cleaned up over onto the TransUnion. It's not 100%, but it is a 95% cleanup. And I have had great success with my clients operating this way.
That's really good. That's good. Okay. And
So
what do you
Wendy,
do, Vicky?
just one second. Just one thing that you guys can do also is just this is free. Credit Karma. They'll just give you an overview of what you're doing. You don't have to, just sign it for free. It'll give you your score.
Awesome. Thank you. Rick, you're
Uh,
shaking your head. What are you saying, buddy?
Well, the thing about Credit Karma is that's going to be 30, 40 points higher than a FICO score is going to be. So don't
That's true.
be because Credit Karma is a credit score, it's not a FICO score, and there's a
Right.
huge difference. So
And then Glenn Friedman is saying that free weekly credit reports are available from all three bureaus online at annualcreditreport.com. Thank you for that, Glenn. So, Vicky, what do you do? You keep saying customers. What do you do?
I'm a mortgage broker by trade.
Okay, good job. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And you got your number there too if anybody wants to reach out. So I love that. The credit system, this is from Ryan. Credit system can't distinguish between a health crisis from a gambling addiction. That's so true. It can't be used to judge character. Um, I agree with some of that, but not all of it. When I see constant lates on a bunch of different stuff, that's character. Um, it does judge a little bit, but I see what you're saying between the health crisis and the gambling addiction. Usually, if there's a health crisis, there'll be a lot of medical stuff on there too. So it'll kind of give you a clue. But when I'm pulling a report and it's bad and I'm seeing stuff that I'm questioning like that, I always will talk to, I wanted to say the victim, but the person that I've pulled the report on. I always talk to them and ask them what's going on because really bad things happen to good people all the time. You know, there's all kinds of things that can happen to make their credit score not be so pretty. Um, there's also Rick put in the chat, and I'll transfer this and put it on the Facebook. Put in the chat of somebody that's a good credit repair person. So here's the other thing: if you're looking for credit repair, you need a third party suggestion, just like Rick is giving you, because there's a lot of credit companies out there that say they'll help you and they won't. I'm telling you, they'll take your money and you won't hear back from them ever again. There's a lot of them out there. So be very, very careful about that. Uh, it's unfortunately it's tough. So Sharon, you've done credit repair. Do you want to unmute?
Maybe if I can. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I mean, there's specific laws that you can write letters and cite those laws, and and essentially demand that the bureaus remove this for this reason or remove that for that reason, and it's all situation dependent. And you really need to know what those are and how to word those letters. But you essentially can remove absolutely everything and anything from your credit report. There's ways to do it. The problem, though, is you have to really look at what you're removing and why, because things like long-term accounts really impact your score in the positive. So if you have a few late payments, you might not want to remove that account. You know what I'm saying? So it's really it's something that you need to look at, a person by person, what would benefit them or not, and work with them to decide what they want to get cleaned up, and what would help,
That's a very good point. Can you share with us a good verbiage versus bad verbiage on that letter that you're talking about?
Oh, I have files, not off the top of my head. I can certainly send in the Sunrisers group a couple examples.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I
Happy
appreciate
to do
that.
that. Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
know, the other thing I mentioned about cleaning up your credit report, even for the people that have really good credit, with the environment of online security and all the fraud that's happening, I think it's really important to keep your credit as clean as you can, as tight as you can, so you know your names, we're all buying houses, we're all doing title work, so our data gets sold all over the place. And I make it a very specific effort to go in and make sure that all of my data on my credit reports are exactly the way that I want to see it, so that when I start seeing other things that could potentially be fraudulent, I'm hyper aware of that.
And so how do you handle that?
What do you mean? Like, so how do I handle it is the way that I handle it is I train the people that I work with to go into Experian and use the systems and processes that I follow and practice, which is, pulling your credit bureau once, your option of pulling Experian, Equifax, and then TransUnion every 3 months so that you can cycle that next year the same way and you get to see all those reports. And, after a year, you should be able to have your credit reports cleaned up as clean as you can get them.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. I never thought about that before. Because when you're thinking to pull it, you would think to pull all three of them at the same time, but to pull them individually like that every 3 months, that's absolutely brilliant.
I'm
And I,
hyper focused on security online. It is, I think it's the biggest threat we have now when we're trying to do all this stuff. And if you've ever dealt with anybody who's been a victim of fraud, it's a nightmare to clean up on credit reports. So this is just a particular way to help you
Wendy,
manage
let me
it.
just comment on that. Since COVID, the laws have changed drastically, and now you can pull your credit report, your actual report, every single week from every single bureau. You don't have to wait. It's not one annually anymore. Now it's weekly.
Yeah,
Okay.
it might be weekly, but I still recommend doing it in stages because you can't see, it takes 30 days for things to be cleaned up and taken
Right.
off. And so you really need to do it in a stage so that you can see really what took place the last couple weeks.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, let's see. Let me go back to there was Jonathan, go ahead. Your hand's up.
Yeah, I wanted to understand something because I feel as though we're in an environment where people are living so they've been pushed close to their living means to the extent where they were living was fine, but now it's not so much. Now they're like going into the bank accounts and trying to move money around and trying to figure out how, trying to stagger the payment dates from earlier in the month to later in the month and all these things. And it takes a long time for them to basically say, well, this isn't really manageable anymore. I'm going to have to move to another state, and then they're going to have to get another job. So how are we all dealing with that? Because it seems to be the norm.
Anybody got a response for him? I I guess not. I guess I'm confused. Moving to another state to do what?
I'm just saying that take your average person anywhere where they're living, and now taxes have gone up and prices have gone up, everything's gone up. Take an older person, for example. Now they're in this place and they are essentially playing, timing games with their payments and their accounts so that they cannot be late, but they are being late because now everything has gone up so much in price that it's just like they're playing with their bank account and shifting around money and timing and things like this. So that can go on and on and on, and it probably damages their credit, and it's probably happening everywhere. And then at some point they're going to have to make a decision. Well, do they move out of the area into a place where they can, not have to do that juggling game? So this is just I'm just trying to understand because our environment has really drastically changed, and we've got to all be dealing with this situation of people juggling their accounts and things. They're at their limits.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying all that, but I'm not sure that's really related to what we're talking about. I don't think it's as common a thing, and I'm not sure I can respond to that with any intelligence. And I appreciate your comment though. Let's see. I don't know who M's iPhone is, but you mentioned Anasha Bradshaw is a great credit repair. If you've got a contact information for that, that would be awesome. That would really help us out a lot. I would really appreciate that. If somebody else said too that debt consolidation is one of the worst things that you can do, it only hurts you. Um, I forget who said that, but if you could unmute for a minute. Are you
Hey,
there?
Wendy.
Yes.
Yes, it's Terry. And no, I did not want
Hey.
to unmute. That's why I put it on a comment.
Hey.
Thank you, though.
Terry, talk about the debt consolidation because you're right. I've seen a lot of people do that and cause more issues.
Yes, and so it's just the thing is that what got them sometimes what got them into trouble is just the overextension. So eventually they do that and they just in their mind they just have one payment, they can spend more. So that's one, it's just the spending habits. But also as the lenders, I used to work for a credit union for many years, and they just look at it as if they did this again. They did it once, they're going to do it again. And they just, for the debt consolidation, how it works is that whoever's working on their repair, they're calling the debtors, right? Whoever, the credit cards or whoever, and then they make them, they kind of get them to lower what they owe. So it's kind of like a loss to the creditor, right? So then it takes longer for them, for their credit to actually be repaired. It helps the person, because now instead of having 5 payments, you only have 1 payment, so it's easier for them to manage. But sometimes it's just a debt habit about being late or not paying. It doesn't really help. So it's just the debt consolidation. I mean, I know that it was a while where a lot of them were recommending it, but whatever I saw in my experience whenever I was working at the bank with the credit union, it just did not. It did not help. It took a lot longer. So it just depends on how you do it and what they actually do for that to be able to work. So I would just tell them to stay away, like cleaning up what everybody's saying, reaching out to the credit bureaus and cleaning up what you actually have there, especially older accounts. That helps a lot more. But we do highly recommend Carlos. I'm assuming that they would be able to work nationwide, but we've seen him help a lot of our investors clean up their credit, and you've seen the improvement within a couple of months.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because
fast.
that's what they do, right? They write letters. So they said they used to be loan originators as well. I put a comment in there. So they know what the lender is looking for. They don't call themselves lender credit repairs. What is it? They're lender specialist or loan specialist, and because they look at the overall on your profile, and they have really great recommendations.
Yeah.
But like everybody said, it's nothing that you cannot do yourself, right? It's just a matter of knowing what to do. And again, like if you're good at something, go ahead and do it. But if you can pay somebody else to get it done faster, it's worth it. So it's all up to personal.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much. And then Cheyenne has a comment in here too, and I love this, that y'all froze your credit for 20 years because your husband's identity was stolen. So I know everybody on this call has absolutely received some sort of an email from somebody who's been hacked and your information's been stolen, right? Who hasn't? It's probably more hands, easier to see that than people who haven't. So my mother got that and responded and got on that credit freeze thing. And it's hard to get it unfrozen so you can pull a report or get a credit card or something like that. It's hard to get it unfrozen. Cheyenne, are you finding that difficult at all?
I haven't. I have logins to all of my credit bureaus, and so I just quickly, you mean as far as unfreezing and freezing?
Same here. It's not that hard to unfreeze and freeze it back in. It's not hard as long as you got your login.
Yeah, so I just do it very quickly, and I just do a thaw. I schedule a thaw, and I say how long I want it to be for. Usually it's 24 hours, and it will automatically freeze again right after the thaw. So yeah, it's really super easy. It takes 2 minutes.
Okay, well, that's the problem. My 89-year-old mother doesn't have credentials. So that must have been the issue. And I see that there's a big long message stuff going on about this. So Brian, when you pull credit and you see that it says credit information suppressed by client, what do you do when you see that?
So in the systems that we use, I actually have to go in and re-pull that missing score. So sometimes people will have 1 or 2 of the bureaus locked. So I'll get one bureau's credit score, and then I have to go log in. I have to call the client and say, hey, your credit's frozen. You forgot to unlock your TransUnion or your Experian. Most people are like, I forgot that I did that. And usually if it's only one bureau, they just totally forget that they had done that. I do highly recommend, highly recommend everybody freeze your credit. If you live in North or South Carolina and probably most of the other states, your social, your name, your date of birth, your address has been hacked. Your information is likely out there. Most people's information is out there. So if you're not freezing your credit, you really should be. It used to be a charge like back before COVID. If you wanted to freeze, you had to pay $5 or $10 to freeze it. It is free on all 3 credit bureaus. You can just Google TransUnion credit freeze. And then when you go to the sites, make sure it's one of the sponsored links or one of the top links so that you're going to the real credit bureau site. Or go type in the credit bureau's site and find their freeze directly, because you don't want to click a fake link. But it's usually you have to have an account set up to do it. You can also call them and you can set up a verbal PIN, and you don't have to do it online. So for your I don't know if you said it was your mom, Wendy, but you can call with her and you can verbally do it. They may verify some of your data, or they may ask you to set some things up, or they may mail you a PIN number and make you call back after you get that in the mail. But it is highly recommended. I get like 2 letters a year that says I've been declined. I just got one about 2 weeks ago that says I was declined for my PayPal credit card that I applied for, which I did not apply for. But I was declined because my credit was frozen. You should have your credit frozen, but you should remember to unfreeze it before you do an application with someone.
Right. So if you get a letter that's saying it was declined, somebody was trying to do that on your behalf then.
Yeah, I get a lot of, I think PayPal is fairly common. Walmart is a very common credit card that I have gotten declined for a bunch of times, and then some Chase cards. It started happening to me about 7 years ago. So I started to freeze my credit, and I get at least 1 or 2 letters a year about being declined.
Wow, that's really good stuff. That's really good stuff. So, I know this was supposed to be about getting financing, but turned into a credit a credit topic. So I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because we all always go off into directions that we need to go into, and that's really good. Wes, did you want to say something? Did you?
Yes, thank you. I was listening to Brian and I missed something. Do you have to freeze it with all of the credit bureaus or just any of them?
You should freeze it with TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. There are 1 or 2, or actually, there might be a handful of small credit reports that are out there that are trying to compete with those big 3, but those big 3 are vastly the most commonly used. I want to say there was one that starts with an I, and I don't remember the name of it because we don't use it in the mortgage world. But there are a couple other credit bureaus that do store and track your credit information. But TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. I'll put links to all 3 and their credit freezing. I'll put links in the chat.
Thank you.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. So, I've got a question to those of you on here who are hard money lenders or you lend privately. First thing I want you to do is put your information in the chat. Your name, your phone number, and what type of lending you do. And if you've got certain states that you like to lend in, it'd be wise for you to put that in the chat also. The other thing I'd like for you to do is unmute, if you will, and tell me if credit matters to you when you are lending to anyone. And if it does, are you pulling it? Are you pulling background checks? Let me hear. I want to hear from any of you. Great opportunity to promote yourself. Anybody at all?
Well, up until now, I haven't pulled credit, but maybe I'm going to change my ways having this conversation this morning.
So, Al, why are you not pulling credit? How are you underwriting a loan?
Just by the value of the house, the property.
Okay.
And I do have a couple of 3 people that I absolutely trust because they've been such good pays over the years. So I don't loan very broadly, but I do loan. And if I got a Mary Hart recommendation, I would certainly consider loaning to that person.
That it sure helps, that third. So where are you lending in, Al?
Main, I'd say Virginia only.
Okay.
I'll put my information in the chat.
Okay. Is everyone aware? Thank you for sharing that very much. Is everyone aware that there is, if you have access to MLS, you can get on this thing called Forewarn, and you don't have to do it through MLS. It's just free through MLS. Forewarn is a system, and it's FORE and the word warn, where you can put somebody's phone number in there, and it pulls a pretty, I shouldn't say decent, a good background check on somebody. So if you are lending your own private money, you need to get access to Forewarn, FOREWARN. You'd be surprised at what that pulls on here. So I see Ken and Sue on here. Well, I see Sue at least. Sue, do you mind unmuting?
Hi.
Hey, tell everyone how long you've been lending. I know you lend your self-directed money and some funds as well, right?
Right. We've been lending since 2014. We use our IRAs, HSAs, both Roth and traditional. I like the Roth better, but anyhow, yeah, so we do lending, and we do care about the credit score because, again, like you, Wendy, we want to be sure that they can, DSCR out of it. We look for about the same score you do, 640 or up. Now, there's some situations where we will go low, lower thing, but we want to be some part of maybe in with them, So yeah, and we do some short term, and we've also have extended, for years too. So
that's awesome. So I just love everything you just said. Do you hear how creative she is? From all the different accounts that she's lending out of, and that she's willing to partner with some people in a deal to share in the equity. Is that what I understand?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of using private money like that, because every lender has a different appetite for what they like to do. And I was talking yesterday, I had the pleasure of filling in for my friend David Bothwell, who runs a great group in Monroe, for breakfast. He had been ill, so I filled in for him yesterday. And we actually talked about financing. And since it's a topic I like, and we talked about how every private money lender has a different type of property that they like to work with. It's not just the borrower, it's the type of loan that they like to do, where they like to lend. So you should have a multitude of people that you borrow from. You need to you need to take a look at this list. I'm looking at this list of all these people in the chat that lend money. Oh my goodness. I should charge money for this chat to have access to this chat, because it is fantastic. And I'm sure I'll have to copy it and put it on Facebook too, because there's people on Facebook that can't see this, that really want to see this as well. There's a lot of people out there that are lending money. And the first way you find money is there's one big thing you have to do first. It's called ask. It's that simple. You have
I'm going to ask right now.
Go ahead.
Looking for a long-term loan. on a house, a house that we just bought in North Carolina.
What
60,000,
it's 60,000. And what is long term to you, Sue?
10 years.
Okay. And what are you doing with the property? Is it a buy and hold?
It's a buy and hold for a while, and we may end up seller financing it later.
Okay. And is that 60,000 a first position note?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the value of the house?
After repair value, after repair value is probably around 170, 180.
Okay. What's the current value?
The current value right now would be, I think about 85.
Okay. So you paid cash for it and you're looking for the rehab money basically, and you want a 10-year loan on that rehab. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually we borrowed hard money. So we'll be paying that off after we do a little bit of rehab on it and stuff. So,
okay.
But anyhow, we generally what we do is we lend out of our IRAs. We always lend, and then we use hard money or whatever, and then refinance into a DSCR usually. But I'd like to start using private lenders, and for longer term.
So you're
a lot of investors don't even use banks, right? Or
that's right.
Lending. So, I'm kind of in the search for lenders where we could reciprocate or what have you.
So you're a borrower and a lender.
Borrower and a lender. Generally, we borrow when we buy, and we lend. We just use our IRAs and HSAs for lending.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be your third party endorser. I would lend to Sue all day long. All day long.
Thank you.
So if you don't know her, you need to get to know her. They've been in the business a very long time, and they know what they're doing.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's an absolute fact. And this is, you're a great example of what every investor should be. You should be both a borrower and a lender. Everyone should have self-directed money, whether it's an IRA, a 401k, an HSA, an ESA. Everybody should know about self-directed money. And I'm going to have another self-directed person on the call very shortly, because I think it's important that everyone know what it is. I'm shocked at the amount of people who don't know what self-directed accounts are. And the more you know about self-directed money, the more money you can raise to do business with, because when you can tell other people about self-directed funds, you're actually helping them build their legacy through your business. You're helping each other. You're not begging for bucks. You're helping each other. That's what this is about, is making sure that you're doing what you need to do and that you're helping someone else build their legacy and do what they need to do. So,
right. It's a win-win for both parties, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. So if someone were to give you a 10-year note for $60,000, what do you think a fair interest rate would be? I know what you want, but as a lender, what do you think a fair interest rate would be?
I'd say 10 and some points.
Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, who in their right mind would not want to earn 10% and 2 points on a 10-year note? That's consistent, folks. People say, oh, I want to try to get 12% for my money if I'm going to lend it out, or 13% on my money if I'm going to lend it out. Okay, so you do that, but you're doing it on a shorter term note. How long is once that first shorter term note at 13% pays off, how long are you going to get it back out on the street and lend it again? Is it going to sit idle for 2 months, 3 months? I don't know. How
Yeah,
long is it going to sit there? So now what you've done is you've taken that 13% and you've dropped it down below 10%, right?
exactly. Exactly.
So, Sue, do you do long-term? Would you do that loan as a lender?
I have, yeah, definitely.
And when you do that, are you pulling credit on your borrower?
You know what? I probably should, but no.
Okay.
Thank goodness, everything's been good so far, ever since we've been lending. But yes, I should pull the credit.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Al Cook said he would do the loan. Al, are you willing to go outside of Virginia and lend in North Carolina?
Yes, I will. I really have done that already, but I'll be happy to do that in this case since I have such a good recommendation.
Great.
Awesome.
My work here today is done.
Really and truly.
What's
So
Wendy's fee?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's your fee for connecting?
What's my
The Sunriser connection.
prayer? I want prayer. That's all I ask for.
You got it.
We'll give you that.
Prayer and encouragement. That's I'm always looking for that. So I really appreciate that so much. This has been, I think, a great meeting. I hope you guys got out of it what I was hoping to give out of it. So somebody else is saying in the chat, okay, Val, my husband and I are just starting out doing lending and have taken Chuck's course, and we would love to work with someone to learn more about wrap lending. Love, love, love that question.
I would help. Yeah, give me a call. On our numbers up at the top there, and I could tell you about that too. Help you.
Awesome. Val, do you see that? Yes, she says thank you. So the other thing, the other thing too, if you are interested in doing wraps, you're the person that you want to deal with is on this list of everybody who says they lend money. They'll do wraps with you. So you've got your contacts right here. This is great. This is great. I'm going to figure out how I can get this chat emailed out to everyone and make sure everybody has a copy of it with everybody's names on it. I promise you I'll figure it out. I got a guy that might be able to help me. So
Hey, Wendy?
thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah, one of the other things, and this is a little bit outside the credit, but it's actually in the credit.
Wait a minute, Randy. Did you put your name and phone number on this chat list as a
Yes, I
lender?
did,
Okay,
because I
wanna
knew
make
you would
sure.
ask me.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. One of the other things that I do is I run a bankruptcy, not only on the entity, but on each of the principals in the entity. Right? I have the attorney do that. They do that as part of the closing instructions to the attorney. And I also have them run a UCC 1 on both the entity and the individuals to see if there's anything out there on that. And if it's a brand new borrower, I'll get a Westlaw report run, which basically is a kind of like a forensics. It's almost like a financial criminal, blah, 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 colonoscopy. I mean, it's very, very detailed. And it goes back 10, 20 years sometimes on an individual. So in addition to the credit part, those are other things that I think are important when you're looking at borrowers. And to me, their character is the most important thing. So I'm big on references. So it's either somebody I know or somebody who I know somebody, and then I'll check them out a couple of different ways also. So
How are you doing that? What are you pulling to do all that? The UCC, what are you looking at?
well, anybody can do a UCC on an individual. You just go to the state, where you're loaning the money, and it'll show up there. You just type in UCC 1 and you pull that. But on the bankruptcy stuff, the attorney does that, and then they send me a copy of for the individuals and the entity. I do both. I used to just do the entity, and I thought, well, there's people behind this, so I've got to make sure that I get their information also.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
sure. Yep.
I'll tell you what else I really love is there were a bunch of people on Facebook that just flipped over here on Zoom so they could add their information on here or get a copy of the chat sent to them. So that is somebody's got it in the notes, and I want to make sure that everybody does know that on your chat, if you're, and this is only on your computer, I don't know how it works on the phone, but there are three dots right after, right at the top of the chat, three little dots. If you click on that, it will ask you to save the chat. You can save it right there. And it'll actually, I believe it gets emailed to you. I know it gets emailed to me. I believe it gets emailed to you. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Let me see. It says save chat. Yeah. So, do you see that text to you from Wendell Long, Randy? I just want to make sure you see that in there. All right. So it is 9:04. We're going to go. This has been great. Rick, did you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I was just going to say one other thing we do. We have a private money lender, about 14 of us here in Houston. We get together quarterly, and we have what we call, I used to call it the blacklist, but for political purposes, we call it the watch list. So we've got about 70 names on the list of people do not lend to, do not do business with. So, as you can tell with Sunrisers, right? I mean, we all share information. We all have the abundance mentality. So don't be afraid to have meetups with you might call them competitors, but you can't fund everything out there anyway. So get together in your community, have your own watch list. Be sure that you guys aren't lending to somebody else's bad borrower. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there as encouragement to get together with local lenders.
Yeah, I get reference calls, as I'll call them, all the time from private money lenders. I get reference calls all the time, and I speak the truth on what I have to deal with. Gerard, did you want to say something?
No,
Or
I'm just saying
Gerhard,
this is an
sorry.
excellent conversation. We are very much enjoying it, and this is community excellent. But no, thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Okay,
you.
I just saw that you were unmuted, and I think Brian, you unmuted.
Yeah, just a real quick tip if you're private lending. I'm not going to tell you if you should do your loan, but you can partner with a loan officer and get clients to get pre-approved for your exit strategy, right? If they plan to do a refinance and you're on the fence on do I want to lend money, send them to a mortgage lender. Have that mortgage lender tell them, here's how we can exit this hard money loan. You want to look at the timing. Lots of lenders have a 6-month seasoning to do a cash out refi. Most lenders have no seasoning requirement to do a rate term refi. And there are a handful of lenders that have no seasoning to do a cash out refi. So if I give them a letter that says, hey, or I send them an email that says, hey, I could get this refinance done for you, that can help you with your decisions. I'm not telling you to do the loan, but at least you can kind of get the exit strategy and that payoff lined up before you make that loan.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I actually just did that yesterday. That's good. Good stuff. Good stuff. David, did you want to say something, my friend?
Yes, real quick. Good morning, everybody.
Good
Just want
morning.
to put a plug in for Randy Vetter. We successfully did a loan yesterday, closed. It went really well. So I want to put a plug in for Randy. That went really well. It's going to be a short-term loan. Actually, I have it sold now, so be paying that off in the next 30, 60 days. Also, I'm a creative investor. I'm looking for a lender that will lend on partial interest. Sometimes I will be able to buy maybe 3/4 of an estate, and we can get title insurance on the partial interest, but it's kind of creative type of lending. So I'm just putting that plug out there. If anybody has more questions, more than happy to talk to you about it.
Well, I have a lot more questions. That sounds like a topic, David. And I will reach out to you and we'll talk about that partial interest. That's an interesting strategy.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all know David, but he's a longtime investor that thinks way outside the box and does some really interesting, successful stuff. So I'm going to put you on the spot for that. So thank you very much. All right.
I just wanted to say quickly, if you know somebody who's done something that's not great, and you didn't directly deal with them, you cannot come out and say Sally Smith did blah blah blah, but you can say, if you know somebody that's thinking about lending, call Steve. Steve has had his loan to her. And then, I mean, I just feel like we all have to protect ourselves. So if you know
Yes.
someone that's not been good with somebody, share the contact of who's been in that loan so that we can all stay safe.
Yeah, that's good stuff. In fact, you have actually done that for me, Lyle, and I appreciate that. Um, and I like the way she said that too, is if you don't know it directly for yourself, do not be spreading stuff you don't know to be true. But connect them with somebody in that grapevine that did deal direct with them. Be careful about spreading things that are not true as well. That's good stuff. Vin, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I do actually. Good morning, everyone.
Good
I
morning.
think great conversation, Wendy. I was just thinking great ideas are coming out. I'm trying to see if we can build something like that. I want to see if people in this group would be interested in forming a focus group just to talk about private lending or hard lending. The reason I say that, I think one of the gentlemen said, the blacklisted people, he used a better term. So we can talk about that, those blacklisted people or who we had experience who were not good paymasters. So I was just trying to see if it makes sense to have once a month call, and I'm happy to volunteer or lead that call also to see if there was interest and it would bring value to all of us, especially in the private lending, because I'm trying to focus my energy in that direction, but not trying to steal your thunder here. We love sunrises. We can continue here also, but I was just more focused on the private lending aspect or hard money lending.
Yeah. We can put that out on an email and see who might be interested in doing that. That's a good suggestion. So thank you for that.
Upstate Korea has a private money lending group that meets once a month, and it's 9 to 10. So it's right after this call today. If you're interested in exploring that.
Yeah, I would love to join. I mean, like-minded people always love it. If you want to share link or, how to be part of that group, happy to explore that.
Yeah, Upstate Korea is really good too. That's Carla Kuhn is the one who runs that group. Lyle, can you put some sort of a link in the chat for that group? It's a great group. That Greenville Rhea is absolutely fantastic. She's out of the country right now, so I'm a little jealous of her. But they are really, really good. I've been going to them for over 20 years. Their education is fantastic. And if you join it, you can join it from wherever you want to enroll because it's on Zoom. And it's really, really good. I've been going to that one for a long time. So I highly recommend that. Thank you for bringing that up, Lyle. Okay. Thank you all so much. Brian, would you like to close us in prayer, my friend?
I will. Heavenly Father, thank you again for another great call, great meeting, lots of great topics. Lord, we just pray now that dismiss everybody today in your care. Watch over us, Lord. Give us a great weekend. And again, Lord, we love you and praise you. Ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. You guys have a great, great week and into next week. And we'll see you next Friday. Thanks again. God bless.